Honorable Ministers present in the hall and Honorable Ministers on the dais, and senior officers from central and state government. Today this session is about climate resilient water infrastructure, and which is a very very important session, since this particular aspect is going to have an impact on almost all the water infrastructure we are building today. And we need to understand that while we fill the gap for building the water infrastructure for our requirement for today and also for maybe 2047, we will have to bring in the things which are going to make them this climate resilient as well. So we have to not only build our water infrastructure, but we have to understand that they have to be climate resilient in future. Since the subject is very large, then I will have to rush through the presentations, and I will just stop at very important things which I need to emphasize on that. Next. Yeah, here we have actually, when we talk about the impacts of climate change, we can see on the top, 5 major category we have actually given just a synopsis how the climate change is going to affect in what areas. Be it increasing hydrological variability, spatial, temporal, and then also in hilly regions. Glacier melt and glacier lake outburst flood will also be a problem. Then when we talk about the water quality, also it is going to be affected, because the warming decrease the dissolved oxygen, as well as pollutants become more toxic at say higher temperatures. So all these things are also going to be affected by the climate change, where we are thinking that there is going to be a rise in temperature. Then frequent intense floods, drought, and cloudbursts. This is a thing that because of the large floods, groundwater recharge is going to be little less, with lot of water flowing down with a very high speed. Then in the coastal areas, if we see sea level rise is going to affect salinity ingress, and then cyclones and other issues. Then there is an ABCD of the response which we have to build while we think of our water infrastructure, while we are building it at a very fast pace to meet our requirements for 2047. Although this response mechanism will be covering briefly from the water resources point of view. However, we have to bring in the response mechanism from agriculture sector as well, because more than 80% of water is being used by agriculture. And some of the measures we have heard from our colleagues from Ministry of Agriculture yesterday. Next. This is a very important slide which we need to understand what's going on. Although we have seen it yesterday also, Honorable Minister has also explained about it. There is already a spatial and temporal variation in the precipitation. In 4 months, almost most of the water is coming, and that is the typical monsoon system which we have in India. This is going to be becoming more difficult. How it is? The good news. Now there are 2 news I can share with you. First, I will share the good news with you, that the professors from various universities from Germany, USA, they have actually carried out various modeling. So the various models they have set up, and they have predicted, and they have come up with the results on the Indian monsoon specifically. They have pointed out that our monsoon, we are going to get more water till the end of the 21st century. That's the good news. 9 to 24% increase. But most of this water is going to be in the Western Ghats, Himalayas, and Northeast, where it is going to be increased. So that is till the end of 21st century. So water is not going to be an issue, overall water, but the issue which they have highlighted is a bad news. They say that interannual variability will increase. Interannual means year after year, means there are going to be peaks and the dips in year-to-year basis also, and also within the same year. Temporal and spatial variation are going to be more and more. Now, more and intense rainfalls, if they are happening, it can impede the growth cycle and can harm agriculture when the time they are not needed and if they are coming as intense. Now, all this shall affect. So, this particular aspect itself has a bearing on our entire water infrastructure which we are building in all respects, be it for our urban areas, be it for our rural areas, which we will be discussing in the coming few slides. So next, also I want to emphasize in the next slide, please. Yeah, so I will just emphasize over here also, and then we will rush through our presentation how these things are going to be affecting our water infrastructure. So water availability, if you see that we have assessed in 2019 about 2000 BCM of water is a potential. Now, of course, the utilizable water is about 1126, what we say today, but the water sources potential is 1999, and then this is not going to decrease. That is what we saw in the previous slide. Till the end of the century, we will be having this much water or more. But the problem will be coming in the factor that there are going to be more and more temporal and spatial variabilities. Now, as per the Farkle Marks Index, if the water availability is between say 1000 and 1700 cubic meter per capita per annum, then it is a water stress condition. And if it is less than 1000 cubic meter per capita per annum, it is a water scarce condition. Now, we have actually come up with basin wise. If you see on the right side, there is a map. In each basin, we have given per capita water availability for 2025 as well as 2050. And there are two lines. One is yellow and one is red, which is going across, which is below the upper line, there is a water stress condition, and below the lower line, this is the water scarce condition. Now see that almost, if we see, most of the basins having most of the population of India, even today, and more so in 2025, shall be under water stress. And by 2050, most of the basins except Narmada, Mahanadi, Godavari, Brahmaputra, and some other minor basins, mainly shall be under water scarce conditions, considering the per capita water availability. Though Godavari and Mahanadi will still be in water stress condition, not water scarce condition, as far as the projected population which has been projected, and I think we are going on a higher trajectory, and we are expecting by 2050 about 160 crores of population over here, and that estimate is exactly on that trajectory. We have estimated on that. So this thing we have to keep in mind while we develop our infrastructure, that we have to take care of per capita water availability also to provide water resources in all the sectors. Next. Water demand by 2050, let's say today if we say our average annual utilization water availability and utilizable water is about 1126 BCM. So there is a line. So today we are using less than that. But by 2050, if we see, our requirements are estimated to be 1180 BCM. So this is going to be challenged. Then the water utilizable water will be less than what will be the water needed. So as on today, we have taken mainly the measures which are related to the crop or the land productivity. We need to measure water productivity as well, because we have very less data about the water productivity, how the water is being used in the fields. So that is to be documented, and state agriculture department institutes can play a very big role in mapping the water productivity as well. As food grain demand from current 300 million metric ton is going to be 450 million metric ton by 2050, so meet that. So when we talk about the water productivity, I will just give you one example. Let's take example of rice, which is actually taken in 25% of gross irrigated area today, and takes about, but then 25% of gross irrigated area takes 47% of irrigation water. So there's huge amount. Now average water use in paddy is about 980 mm. So Punjab is using as high as 1800 mm. Some eastern states are more efficient in it though. Now if we go by FAO estimates, Food and Agriculture Organization, which say actually for paddy, rice, we need only about 550 millimeter of water to have a very good yield, means the best yield condition. Now we are using on an average 980 mm. If we just align our rice use to 550 mm, we will be able to save 109 BCM of irrigation water even today, and water annually. And this is I'm talking without any increasing efficiency, just a good use. And that 109 BCM is it's a very, very substantial amount, and it can bring another 20 million hectare of area under irrigation and can produce 70 million metric ton of food grain. So let's see, only in one crop if we do so, without any investment. So we are not talking about the investment, we are just talking about the right amount of water to be used. So all states need to work on the water productivity side, keeping in view of the climate resilience conditions we have to produce. Next. This is the next. So this is the main water infrastructures we have tried to map over here, and we have tried to tell that in what areas each of the water infrastructure is actually contributing. So see, most of the dams is contributing to very, very large areas. Then groundwater also is equally doing in many areas, and then there are certain other infrastructure which we will be talking in the subsequent slides in little details. So they are actually interrelated with each other. Next. So dam and reservoirs here, sir, and you give me please 5 minutes, it is a large subject. So dam and reservoirs, if we see that to harness about 690 BCM of utilizable surface water which is available today, about 450 BCM of storage capacity will be required. So as on today, we are building around say 310 BCM of capacity we are building. So of course we have to find out the appropriate sites and need to increase it to that. So basically dam and reservoirs are actually some of the can create the water resilience, because once since the water is coming in with the temporal and spatial variations, so dam can hold the water whenever it is coming and can be used in the subsequent times. So India already is having one of the lowest per capita storage, 200 cubic meter per capita, so this is very low. So this needs to be increased. So since we have in the right side, we can see that most of our dams which were constructed about say 30, 40, 50 years back, so most of the dams are aging now. So dam safety and the Ministry of Shakti has already taken care of that by bringing in is extremely required. Next. So these are the technological interventions which will be required to create the water resilience. This slide is available, will be shared with everyone, and I think can be discussed in details when we if anybody is interested in that. And only thing I want to point out over here is we are working in a lot of areas. We are working in extended hydrological predictions. We are actually doing integrated reservoir operations and modelings. But the one thing we are facing is we are not able to get a good quality water diversion data from these structures from the states. And since we are not able to get it, we are not able to have a very good correlations and output from those models. We are already working on EHP in Kaveri. There is an issue of the data, and we are not able to do very well. Though in Yamuna and Narmada we are doing well. Next. This is canal infrastructure. Basically, the emphasis is the canal infrastructure. If we have to increase its efficiency has to be increased to bring in the climate resilience. We have already discussed about improving the efficiency in the yesterday's sessions. Pipe distribution networks, which we have already been actually emphasized, and more than 50,000 kilometers of underground pipelines has been used in that. Next. Of course, next please. Water resources management intervention are also needed for bringing in the climate resilience. All these aspects in more or less we have actually discussed yesterday, so I will just skip over it. Next. Groundwater. I say that we have to see. So now India is the largest user, but then this is a buffer. Now we have to understand it is the largest natural storage reservoir, as well as it is a buffer against climate vagaries. We have to understand, because water is available when we need it. But if we are actually exploiting it much more than that, then we have to take care of this next. Then groundwater issues and redressal. This slide is there available, and we can have great discussions if somebody wants to discuss it in details. The thing is that demand management and augmentation, salinity, all this area we have to work. Next please. Yeah, in groundwater sector, current intervention, we know about the NECU, we know about the Atal Bhujal Yojana. What we are doing, we discuss in detail. Next. Water resources, next please. Water resources conservation intervention is also extremely important, which we have actually discussed in previous session. Our Honorable Minister has also emphasized on that. This is extremely important to bring in climate resilience. Next. Flood embankments, I just need to emphasize over here is because of the changing climate condition, intense floods and reservoir, we need to look into. Only one point I want to emphasize over here is the planning and design of flood embankments in this area. We need to review. We are designing our projects at 1 in 25 years, but maybe we have to think in certain critical vulnerable areas. Maybe in 1 in 50 years planning we may have to do. So such structures we have to build so that they can take care of our urban areas. Next. Water treatment and supply, we have the next please. Water treatment supplies we have on the yesterday in the first session itself we have discussed in great details. The only thing is I will re-emphasize is source sustainability. We have to do for both surface water and groundwater, and all the states has to work together. Even they have to start now. While we are actually going for completing our target in the next 2 years, providing tap water to every household. So this is the right time to start this thing. Next, urban drainage. Next, urban drainage is extremely important area to look into today, because in the climate change rainfall patterns, we are going to have intense rainfalls only for few hours. We get a lot of examples, 1,000 millimeter of rainfall in 1 hour. So the systems are not designed. So we have to think about the urban drainage. In this, only 2 points I will like to raise. Separate storm water and sewerage system we have to think, because it will reduce pressure on STPs also. And second, sponge city concept we have to understand. We have to implement. Chennai, Mumbai is implementing to some extent in different interventions for as far as the sponge city concept is concerned. So it's a very important concept which can be discussed in detail in a separate session itself. And this is very important if we have to take care of urban drainage. Next please. Next please. So natural system, lake, pond, wetlands, we cannot emphasize any less on the importance of these things which we have to take care of. And these are the things which are going to have the create the water, the climate change, climate resilience, what we say. In this I will just only talk about the wetlands, how important they can be. They are sequestered carbon from atmosphere through plant photosynthesis. So it's extremely important things which are actually even reducing the climate change. Next. So these are the way forward. We have to work in all the fields. We cannot work in one field and create a specific results. In water sources, we have to talk about all these arrangements that we have been discussing since yesterday, and we'll be discussing in the evening also. So all these we have to work on all the things to achieve our results that by 2027. Next. Thank you very much and wish you a very happy new year. Thanks a lot.